Happy Memorial Day and welcome, Memorial Day weekend, I should say, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Comic Call. As I begin year 2 of my Comic Call, last week was my 1-year anniversary episode, so now I have been on the air for a year, which was one of the goals I had set out for when I started this up again. So now I'm very proud of myself. I was able to get through with it, so now the goal is to go through 2 years. It's possible, we shall find out. But it is Memorial Day weekend. It is also, yesterday was not only Star Wars Day, but it was also the 1-year anniversary of DC's rebirth, which brought DC revitalized life and made it beat the snot out of Marvel, which is what it's doing now and is continuing to do right now. So much so that Marvel's trying to imitate them and is going through their own little rebirth this year, which to me is not great, but that's just my opinion. Anyway, I'll talk about it on my other show, Dylan Knows. I do a comic show with MJ Khan the first of every month. So I'll talk about that, Marvel and stuff like that, more about that. And occasionally I do a solo show here and there, and I might talk about them there too. But that's not what this show is about. This show is about what comic books I bought at the local comic store this week. The main goal for this show is to get people to go out and explore their local comic book shop and get out there and, see what's out there and maybe find something that they enjoy. And that's why I do this show. I show you artwork, tell you about the story, about what came out this week. And if something looks good to you, hey, go out and go get it. As I said, this is just a small sampling of what I collect. In fact, this is one of the smallest weeks I've ever done. And I would have bought this gem, which I'll talk about at the end of the show. I would have spent only about $40 from comics this week, which is actually, for those who've been watching this show, know it's interesting because I usually spend about $80-some. So I cut my thing in half and I dropped a bunch of books. I'm going to continue to drop them so I can stick to about a $40 to $45 a week thing because I got to start saving money for other things as well. So we'll see what happens. I got to start making some cuts here soon. So I have started on that. So you're not going to see a lot more stuff. But as I said, this is just a small sampling of stuff that's out at comic book stores. You go out on your own and discover your own stuff. See what you like to get. There might be some books out there that you like that I don't like. Go ahead, knock yourself out. Go for it. Check it out. What do you got to lose, right? Program note, next weekend is Wonder Woman Day, Wonder Woman weekend if you want to. The movie Wonder Woman comes out finally next Friday. And then June 3rd, which is next Saturday, is Wonder Woman Day at local comic book stores. So they're going to be doing Wonder Woman events and stuff like that in coordination with the Wonder Woman movie. So there might be some stuff going on Wonder Woman related. So if you like Wonder Woman, or if you are a female, who is interested in it after seeing the movie, by all means, check out your local comic book store to see what they've got to offer on Wonder Woman, because they will be having Wonder Woman displays all over the place. So there's all kinds of crazy stuff. It's actually kind of fun. I'll tell you what. Let's find it out in a second. But enough of my chit-chatting. Sorry. Whoa. This is the haul. All right. First up, as always, DC's first. As I said, not a lot of stuff coming out for me this week, so I spent a small amount of money this week. So, first up is Action Comics 980. There it is. Got the cover. It's the beginning of the Revenge Squad, continuing the Revenge Squad. Look who's back, Cyborg Superman. It's Dan Jurgens, who is the one who wrote most of these characters in the Death of Superman. Is coming back to rewrite them now as he's developing a Superman Revenge Squad. It's written by Dan Jurgens, art by Patrick Zurcher. And it's continuing the rebirth that's been showing up in a reborn, I should say. That's been showing up in the regular Superman comic. Is now showing up in this one. All kinds of neat stuff, and it's might be leading to some stuff. So I was originally going to cancel Action Comics, but they've got some interesting stuff, and I just realized I can see why they're doing the storyline, because this year is the 25th anniversary of the death of Superman. So I guess that's why they're doing this storyline, to keep this up. So pretty interesting. So that's the newest issue of Action Comics, 980. Detective Comics number 957 is out this week. I think this ends the storyline. Oh no, this is a one-shot, The Wrath of Spoiler. James Tinian IV and Christopher Sabella writers. Carmen Carnero penciler, Carl Story, Richard Friend, and Carmen Carnero inks. So this is a one-shot that focuses on Spoiler, who's gone crazy since the alleged death of Tim Drake and has broken paths with Batman and his team. So this is her storyline. So interesting stuff going on there. And let's see, they got a nice. I don't even think Batman appears in this. Oh yeah, and look who pops up at the end. We have Anarchy. So we're going to see Anarchy coming back. So issue of Detective Comics is out this week for Memorial Day weekend also. Real quick, your local comic stores might be doing Memorial Day sales. Mine is doing a Friday, Saturday, Sunday Memorial Day weekend sale. So they've got some great deals, so check your store. Speaking of Wonder Woman, this came out about a week early. I'm sure they're going to have some other Wonder Woman stuff, but this Wonder Woman is bi-weekly, and this is the most recent issue, number 23. Greg Rucka's only on it for 2 more issues. This one is Greg Rucka, Liam Sharp, and it's basically modern day Wonder Woman right now, and then next week it'll be, in 2 weeks, it'll be something from the past, and we'll see if this is all going to converge in issue 25, which is going to be Greg Rucka's last issue. So it's a shame, but we'll see what happens up after that. So that's Wonder Woman. And I'm surprised. I guess just the way things worked out. That's how bad it came out this week. Instead of next week's Wonder Woman Day, Wonder Woman week it should be. But I think they're going to have a bunch of Wonder Woman stuff anyway next week anyway, so it'll be worth it. Speaking of girls, here's Batgirl number 11, newest issue of that. Came out this week. Written by Hope Larson with art by Chris Wildgoose. I like Chris Wildgoose's artwork. It's been doing pretty good, and Batgirl has sort of had a rebirth for myself, no pun intended. Kind of like it. So this is the son of Penguin, so I guess we learned that the Penguin has a son here, and it's become one of Batgirl's enemies. So pretty good artwork. Interesting storyline, and see what's going on. All right. Hal Jordan, the Green Lantern Corps, number 21, has a big storyline in it as well. They were talking about it on MSN. It's written by Robert Venditti, with art by art by V. Ken Marion, inks by Dexter Vines. So it's a pretty interesting Kyle issue. Something major happens to Kyle in this one. I'm not going to spoil that, but definitely check it out. Yes, Hal Jordan is in it, and he's not my favorite, but we do get a bunch of the other. You get Guy Gardner back in his Warrior stuff, so it's pretty cool. So good stuff. So Hal Jordan, the Department 21 came out this week too. Again, surprise ending. Justice League of America number 7 out this week as well. Steve Orlando and Jamal Campbell doing artwork. This is focuses, it looks like, on Killer Frost and Atom. Again, this book is tending to trend towards what's going on in the CW. With the Atom version is very similar to the one in the CW. Killer Frost is on the Flash now. Vixen is in that as well. So pretty interesting stuff. So Just Leave America number 7. Okay. I don't want to see this. Oh, well, it's all right. I don't mind. Next up, we had Deathstroke number 19, continuing the crossover between Teen Titans, Titans, and Deathstroke. This is written by all the writers, Christopher Priest, Benjamin Percy, and Dan Abnett, with breakdowns by Larry Hama, pencils by Carlo Pagulayan, and Roberto J. Villacava, with Jason Paz and Sean Parsons on inks. So got a bunch of different creative teams. You got a bunch of different players playing in the game. The Teen Titans team up with the Titans against Deathstroke. All kinds of interesting, fun stuff. And this is, typical Deathstroke stuff. Eventually is going to lead to a new story arc coming up that spins out of the storyline. So we'll see what happens. It's going to conclude next issue in the Titans Annual. Teen Titans, I guess it's Teen Titans Annual because Titans Annual already came out. It's not Deathstroke Annual. That's for the Rebirth books. Next up is the Commandy Challenge. Number 5, I've talked about this before. It's 5 of 12, but I'll go over it again. This year would have marked Jack Kirby's 100th birthday. So they decided to take one of Jack Kirby's creations, Commandy, who is the last boy on Earth, and they decided to do a round-robin storyline, 12 issues, 12 different creative teams. Each one takes an issue, and they, in the case of the first one, they started the story and then they ended their issue on a cliffhanger. The second creative team on issue 2 had to solve that cliffhanger and go off on their own storyline and end on a cliffhanger there. Then the third creative team had to follow that up with their own stuff. Well, this is the 5th one, and the 5th one is Bill Willingham and Ivan Reyes and Eau Claire Albert. So it answers the cliffhanger, solves the cliffhanger for the previous issue, and then creates another story, sets it up, and then sets up another cliffhanger at the end. And the other creative teams have to use all the stuff that's been happening from the previous stories to continue the story, and then the next creative team has to solve the cliffhanger ending, which I'm not even going to show you because that is a heck of a cliffhanger ending, and I don't know how they're going to get around that one. Who is creative? And they're not even at the halfway point. Who is the creative team on this one? Next one. Main challenge number 6 is Steve Orlando and Billy Tan. So interesting. But it's an interesting project, an interesting challenge. You get 12 different issues telling one big massive story, and the creative teams have to solve their own solve the cliffhangers of the previous creators and do their own. It's been a while. I mean, it took. I can't believe it took so long to get these two together. But Batman and Shadow, number 2. Number 1 came out last month, and this is issue number 2 of 6. It's written by, there he is again, Steve Orlando is all over the place. Scott Snyder, Steve Orlando, and Riley Rossum is the artworks. Is doing the artwork. So you have the Shadow facing off against Batman, which is something that should have been done a long time ago because they're both very similar characters, and to have them working together is kind of fascinating to see how that works out. Plus, if this takes place in contemporary Batman, who is this Shadow? He's not the 1930s one, or is he? I don't know, but it looks like the Shadow's going to get his own new story. So, with a new character. So, yep, there it is. Shadow coming in August 2017. So, there's going to be a new Shadow series, I guess more contemporary. So, there's that one. Next up, after that, the last one for DC is the Young Animal book, Mother Panic, which is really, really good. I really like this cover. It's written by, who is it written by? It's written by Jody Hauser, interior and cover art by John Paul Leon. So he's got a interesting artwork, but it's a great storyline. John Workman did the lettering. He's been doing lettering forever. And it's a great character, female lead, and not quite your usual type of thing, and it takes place in Gotham City. So you get a little bit of everything, and looks like you get a lot more Mother Panic in this one. So definitely worth checking out. And it's John Paul Leon. And you also get a backup story written by Jim Kruger with art by Phil Hester and Andy Parks. So you get that as well, which is very interesting as well. That's it for the DCs. As always, DC is my favorite one. And I'm dropping a lot of Marvels because there's not a lot of ones that are interesting me, and the stuff that they're going through, I don't appreciate it. I don't like it. And then they're doing this whole changeover in the fall anyway, and that just smells to me of desperation. But we'll see. Will I give them a chance? We'll see. I'll check out. I still collect some Marvels, and it's like this one. It's Ben Reilly, the Scarlet Spider, featuring one of my favorite writers, Peter David, with one of my favorite artists, Mark Bagley. So how could you go wrong with that one? John Dell's the anchor. So you got Peter David, you got Mark Bagley, and you got yourself quite the series. So very interesting. Doesn't look like he appears in costume in this one. He appears in other stuff as well. Oh, there he is, costume. So, but well worth it. Oh, he's back in his old costume in the next issue, so good. But there's Peter David, Mark Bagley. Can't go wrong with that. Also from Marvel, this is more for my wife Dawn. She likes Captain Marvel. It's Mighty Captain Marvel #5. This is a crossover with Secret Empire. It's written by Margaret Stoll with art by Michelle Bandini. Just no issue with Captain Marvel. My wife likes Captain Marvel, so I keep getting the issues for her. And this ties in to the unfortunate Secret Empire and her team up at Alpha Flight. So we'll see what happens after that. So that's it for Marvel. Independence, not too many this week either. Again, for my wife, Dark Crystal #3, Simon Spurrier, or I'm sorry, The Power of the Dark Crystal #3, Simon Spurrier, writer, Kelly and Nicole Matthews, art. So if you like the Dark Crystal, the news story about that is Netflix is doing a Dark Crystal series, which my wife is over the moon for. Until then, it's coming out next year, I think, or later this fall or something like that. This will tide you over for a while. They do a really good job with the Dark Crystal here. So if you're a big fan of Dark Crystal, go ahead and pick up this comic as well. And it also goes to show you that there's more to comics than superheroes. There's licensing and other stuff as well. Over here, actually. Last comic this week before we get to the gem of the week is Old Guard, issue #4. Old Guard, written by Greg Rucka, art by Leandro Fernandez. It's a creator-owned book. It's a bit more, the female lead, a bit more violent. There's some nudity. I just saw some nudity. I'm not going to show it on this show. There's some nudity in it. But it is an independent story, and there's lots of violence, and as I said, sex and nudity as well. And that's it. So that's it for the comics that I got for this week. As I said, there's a whole lot more that came out this week, but I didn't want to buy them. I had no desire to buy them. There's a ton of books out there. I can't afford them. I don't have the time to read them all. So go to a local comic book store and pick up these books or some different ones. Finally, we're going to close out this Memorial Day weekend episode of the Comic Hall with my gem of the week, which when I was on Monday, when I saw what books are coming out this week and I saw this, I was like, I think I really need to buy this because Mike Mignola, creator of Hellboy, is one of my absolute favorite artists of all time. I just like there's something about him I like, his style, his artwork. Well, DC has released a hardcover graphic novel, or trade paperback, I should say, collecting some of his harder to find works under the title of The DC Universe of Mike Mignola. Nice little Batman cover on the front. I'm also a big fan of Deadman. There's Deadman on the back. So I knew nothing about this book. I didn't know what was going to be in it. I had just finished reading Cosmic Odyssey, which was a story that he did before. Cosmic Odyssey is not in this. Neither is Gotham by Gaslight, which are his two most famous stuff that Mike Mignola has done for DC. But there is something in here which I never thought I would see collected. And I am so ecstatic that I saw it collected in this, and the fact that it is the first 4 comics collected in this. There are 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 stories in here by Mike Mignola. And the first one brings back a lot of memories. Plus, there's a lot of his covers from DC also. Brings back a lot of memories. The Phantom Stranger, which was the first comic book I think I remember seeing Mike Mignola do the artwork for. And the fact that he got P. Craig Russell to do the inking for it just made it that much better. And I really honestly believe this is the first time I'd ever seen Mike Mignola artwork. It's a 4-issue miniseries written by Paul Kupperberg, art by Mike Mignola, and inks by P. Craig Russell, who is the absolute best inker for Mike Mignola. This collects all 4 issues, which I own in comic format, but they're somewhere hidden in my myriad of boxes here. Now I have the book that collects it. Takes place in Gotham City. And this version of the Phantom Stranger was the last thing I dressed up as for Halloween. I used the cover that I just showed you and dressed up as the Phantom Stranger for Halloween one year using this costume. So the fact that I actually have this 4-issue miniseries now in trade format for me makes me absolutely ecstatic. So we have that, and then we're also given a chance to check out some of the covers he's done for DC as well. There's Spectre with Zatanna and stuff like that. There's some very good covers there from 1987. And then they are collecting the 4-issue World of Krypton miniseries that he did when John Byrne took over as writer of Superman. When John Byrne took over as writer of Superman, he was the writer of Superman and Action Comics. Jerry Ordway and Marv Wolfman were the creative team for Adventures of Superman. So he had 3 Superman books, but John Byrne was the main guy. And he wanted to this was after the Crisis. He recreated Superman the way he wanted to do it. And in order to fill in some backstory, he created some miniseries. He didn't draw any of them. He did the artwork, or rather, he wrote the stories. It was World of Krypton, World of Smallville, and World of Metropolis. They were 4-issue miniseries that filled in some background, whatever. So for the World of Krypton story, 4-issue miniseries, he got Mike Mignola to do the artwork. Rick Bryan is the inks. So, and that's a lot of what fills up this trade paperback, is a lot of his Superman work, because Mike Mignola did a lot of work on Superman during the 1980s when Superman was going through the rebirth. So we're getting the World of Krypton as drawn by Mike Mignola. So not as exciting to me as Phantom Stranger was, but still good to see that. Again, more covers that he did. And then they did his story, a mini story that tied into an issue of Superman that was coming up, where John Byrne wrote it and Mike Mignola did a story that included Man-Bat and Superman. And it ends on a cliffhanger that gets continued into the next item that collected with Hawkman showing up. So then Superman number 18, written by John Byrne, Mike Mignola, finishes up the storyline that was started off in that one. Carl Kesel did the inks on it, so it's interesting to see Kesel inks over Mignola. So you got all that. And then again, more covers. I'm not going to show you covers. And then Superman teams up with Batman in The Curse of the Banshee with P. Craig Russell on inks again. And he actually is written by Roger Stern. So you get Superman taking on the Silver Banshee with art by Mike Mignola. And then more covers, the covers to his Cosmic Odyssey series, which is very well worth it. Just check it out. I was able to find a trade paperback version of that. I bought it and I read it. He also did the Death in the Family covers, where they killed Jason Todd Robin, the phone number. Then we get a story that was from Action Comics, I think 600. It was written by Jerry Ordway and John Statham, but there was a storyline. George Perez, writer, inker over Mike Mignola. There was a bit in there. There was also a bit from Kurt Swan, who was an old-time Superman Right. So it's not necessarily Mignola's story, but he's got some artwork in this story. So, but still, it's a fun story to check out. And I think it's a self-contained one, but you get a little bit of Mike Mignola, you get Jerry Ordway, you get Kurt Swan all doing a Superman story. So that's pretty cool. Then you get the Swamp Thing annual, written by Neil Gaiman of all people. So then you have a Neil Gaiman story written by Neil Gaiman, art by Mike Mignola, inking himself. So you got that, which I don't think I've ever read before. So that made me even more excited. And then after that, they have the Legends of the Dark Knight Sanctum one-shot that he did with Dan Raspler. And he gives him a chance to do a creepy Batman story. You know? And so you get all that. So I am ecstatic that I was able to get this series. And then there's like the secret origin of Clayface was also drawn by Mike Mignola. So that's what this is. So I am over the moon that I got this. I had to. If I wouldn't have bought that, my comics this week would probably been around $40, but that doubled it because it's a $40 book. But it's well worth it to me because he's one of my favorite artists, and it's going to go really well with my DC Universe art of Amanda Connor, which I also got at the Gem Museum. So I got two of these really nice art books that collect some unknown stories I haven't really seen before by these artists that I love. So I'm extraordinarily excited about that. So that came out this week. This is brand new this week. So if you're a fan of Mike Mignola, of Hellboy or whatever, and want to see some of his DC work, this is the gem of the week. I highly recommend picking this up. I am so ecstatic and over the moon that I found it that I'm probably going to read it this weekend, this long weekend, just because I'm excited. So that's it for this week's Comic Call. Thank you, the one viewer who's joined me. Thank you very much for hanging out with me. Next week is, as I said, is Wonder Woman week. I think it's also fifth week because it's May 31st. So it's fifth week, so it's probably going to be another light week also. So we'll see what happens with that. It's also going to be, as I said, Wonder Woman Days next Saturday. Wonder Woman, the movie comes out next Friday. So definitely go out and see those. I'm not a big fan of the DC movies recently, but this one could change my mind. I'm going to go see it sometime, hopefully with my family, because I know my daughter wants to see it, and I know my wife wants to see it. So we'll definitely check it out this weekend, hopefully. Or not this weekend, next weekend. It should have come out this weekend for Memorial Day, but no, they decided to wait and give her own weekend, which is, I guess, is good. But I think if you put it up against Pirates and Baywatch, it would have destroyed them. It's going to win next week anyway, and it's going to be a huge hit. Just you wait. So that's it for this week. Have a happy, safe Memorial Day. Don't forget what Memorial Day is about. Pause for a few seconds, a moment of silence for all the soldiers we lost in wars. Could be family, could be friends, or could just be people who put their lives on the line to protect you. So while you're having your barbecues or you're on the beach or whatever, don't forget about the soldiers who gave their life for your country. And go to your local comic book store. A lot of them might be having Memorial Day sales. Mine is having 50% off of everything again, so that's great. May have to buy some pops. Maybe. But no, you spend enough money there. Anyway. All right, guys. Thanks a lot. Dylan knows at least one episode is going to be next Sunday, or on Sunday at 12:30. I might do a special second one sometime. Probably not tomorrow because my daughter's dance recitals tomorrow night. And we're doing my show Sunday, and I'm going to watch new episodes of Twin Peaks on Sunday night, so it'll probably be maybe sometime Monday we'll get another episode of Dylan Knows. So I might get 2 Dylan Knows episodes during this holiday weekend. So on that note, I'm going to say goodbye. Thanks for watching, and go to your local comic store. Peace.